He killed his fiancée and buried her inside his wall. A story by E.B.'s Heart. Victor, my son just got admission to study architecture in the university, so I am going to get the things that he will be taking to school. Very soon, I will become mother of a graduate, Mrs. Oak, Victor's mother said while hugging her best friend and the mother to her son's betrothed. They both danced and Mama Oluchi, her best friend, promised to bring Oluchi later in the day to come and congratulate her husband-to-be. Mrs. Oak and her husband were retired village teachers, who believed so much in education. So sending their only child to the university was a dream come true. Few days later, Victor left for school, and his betrothed, Oluchi, followed him to the motor park. Barely 1 year as a university, Victor got a distress call from his mother one day that she was in the hospital. He rushed home and found his mother paralyzed due to spine injury. Knowing his parents well, and from other bruises in her body, he knew his father must be responsible. So he pleaded with his mother to tell him what happened. After much pleadings, his mother admitted that his father had beaten her for serving him cold food. But you must not let people know, if not gossip will destroy the good name and reputation I and your father have managed to build, his mother pleaded with tears. Victor and his family had been able to hide his father's bad behavior towards his mother for years. They appear as a perfect family to outsiders, but his father beats his mother inside. He cried bitterly, but they lied to everyone that came to visit Mrs. Oak at the hospital, that she fell while attending to the chicks in their poultry. Victor's mother died after spending close to a month at the hospital, shattering Victor's world to pieces. One of the major causes of his parents' quarrel was that his father was constantly blaming his mother for being so careless. Victor's only sister died at 5 years old because Victor pushed her out of anger, and she fell and hit her head on a rock, causing severe brain damage, and dying afterwards. This made Victor's father so sad, and he constantly blamed his wife for not paying closer attention to his children. This also made Victor to grow cold-hearted and resentful towards his father so much. Even though he was perfect outside and everyone admired his brilliance, he was a very sad young boy inside. His parents found a young girl from a good family when he was barely 11 years to marry in the future. Her name was Oluchi. Victor liked her very much, and always hoped to treat her better than his father had ever treated his mother. I am dropping out of school, Victor announced to his father after his mother's burial. I cannot concentrate anymore and Mama is not here again, so I don't even see the need to go and waste my time in school, he said in defense. His statement angered his father so much, so he got up and started shouting at Victor, "If you don't go back to school, I will disown you. You killed my precious daughter, you murderer." His utterances made Victor's blood to start boiling, so he got up, walked straight to their store, pulled an axe and tore his father's head into 2. His father fell and died. He was so overjoyed and he felt free too. Then he remembered that someone might walk into their gate, even though no one does since his mother passed. He quickly ran outside and locked their gate. They lived alone in a large village compound that was fenced with gate, so no one ever knows or sees anything that happens in their compound. He cleared his father's body from the sitting room and took it to their poultry. He broke part of the wall and buried his father there. "You will be here and watch me enjoy my life to the fullest," he said to his father's body and laughed. The next day, he dressed like his dad, being his father's replica. He wore his father's cloth and drove his old Volkswagen out, making sure to greet everyone with his horn just like his father. He drove very far with his father's bag and phone, then he abandoned the car somewhere, changed to his own cloth and came home. When he came home, he walked to Mama Uche that sold rice opposite their compound to ask, "Did my father go out?" The woman who acknowledged the horn from Victor's father, smiled and said to Victor, "Yes, he passed here a while ago, call him," she advised. "I have been trying his line and it's been switched off, that's even why I am worried. Anyway, let me wait for him, maybe his phone ran out of battery," Victor said and smiled. "You are so caring. Your wife will be so lucky. Look at how you are worried about your poor old father," Mama Uche said admiring Victor as he was leaving. When it was dark, Victor ran to their neighbors. "Please, I have not seen my father since I came back. His phone has been switched off and I am worried." Everyone became concerned. They all wondered where such a kind man had gone or if anything bad had happened to him. Everyone came out and they reported the situation to the local vigilantes. That was how they searched for Victor's father for days. They eventually found his car abandoned at a bush in a boundary between another village. Victor broke down and wept convincingly. "Ever since my mother died, he had not been himself. I regret leaving him alone," he wept. Everyone was crying and they all felt sorry for Victor. Poor Victor, losing his parents within a short while. Few months later, the police concluded his death as suicide. They felt he parked his car and went far away, where he could not be found, and took his life. Everyone pitied Victor, especially his future in-laws. They advised their daughter Oluchi, Victor's betrothed, who was in her first year in the university, to always visit him and help him with some chores. Victor convinced everyone that he would be going to school from home, so that he would be around every time in case his father got back. Unknown to them, he had dropped out of school. This was how Victor's killing habit started. He opened various social media accounts. He would chat any good-looking girl and invite her to his house. When they come, they never leave, because he would take their life, embalm them and keep their body for a while, talking to them as if they were alive. Then he would bury them inside the wall in his parents' former poultry block and seal it off with cement. He also started internet fraud, so money was not a problem for him. Then he used some of the money to furnish his bedroom. Everyone still praised within the village for being so coordinated and hardworking. He broke some part of their fence at the back of their house where the girls come in from, away from prying eyes. Whenever Oluchi, his betrothed, was around, he would visit Victor and spend some days. Her parents also sent some farm produce to Victor to support him, even though he had made millions from his internet fraud business. They took Victor as their son. He convinced Oluchi that he used his dead father's pension to furnish his room. When the girls come, they would sneak in from the back. After spending some days, he would take their life, take their belongings to a faraway hotel, keep it there for a day or two. This will make it seem like the person spent time there in case if their phones were traced. Then he would go back there, take their belongings and discard them. Then one day, Oluchi, his betrothed, wanted to pay him a surprise visit from school. Her friends had suggested that Victor, her man, might be cheating on her, so she decided to surprise him to prove them wrong. She first of all called Victor and told him she was preparing for test and will not visit him anytime soon. Then she left the school and headed to their village to visit Victor. But her phone fell from her hand and broke on the floor when she was boarding a bus. She was sad because she wanted to inform her parents that she was coming home. Her mother had always insisted in knowing her whereabouts, so her not being able to inform her about her travel to the village made her feel bad. "Anyway, I will just call her with Victor's phone once I get to his house," Oluchi thought to herself. She decided to sneak in from the broken fence from behind. She and Victor were the only ones that knew about that opening in the fence. When she got in, she heard Victor's voice from the parlor chatting excitedly. "So he is really cheating on me." Her heart broke into pieces. She walked slowly closer, hoping to confront Victor. Even though she doesn't know how she will take what she was going to see, she still leaned forward to at least see who it was. But what she saw made her stagger and out of breath. She saw Victor sitting on their dining chair with a headless human being, chatting happily and enjoying his meal. He placed the head on the table, while the body was tied to a chair. Oluchi started vibrating because she was so tensed and scared. She turned around and made to sneak out from where she had come in from, but she fell down due to blurry vision from the tears that had welled up in her eyes. Victor took his axe and ran outside immediately. Oluchi hid behind his water tank, biting her cloth to avoid making any sound. After looking around, Oluchi saw him turn around and left. She stood up and tiptoed toward the fence, but the next thing she felt was a heavy blow to her head. Apparently, Victor didn't go back inside. He had seen Oluchi where she hid but pretended to have gone inside. "Wake up, princess," Victor poked Oluchi in her cheek. Oluchi opened her eyes, but she felt so dizzy. So she closed them. She wanted to rub her eyes, but discovered they were tied. Victor, what is this? Untie me please, Oluchi commanded. Mind your tone, my love, Victor said and smiled wickedly. Oluchi opened her eyes after some minutes, but she saw a very different Victor. His eyes were so red from what he took to make himself feel high. I know you saw me having lunch with my guest. Well, I never cheated on you, because I don't even love them. It's you I love. Them? Are they more than one? Oluchi asked, feeling disgusted. Yes, them, those girls that visit who they don't know because of the money offered to them. Even if they visit you without knowing you well, that gives you no right to take their lives, Oluchi barked. Watch your tone, my love, remember your hands and legs are bound, Victor said and walked out of the room. Oluchi screamed for help on top of her voice until she got tired. Victor walked in 2 hours later carrying the head he had kept on his table. You meant this girl? He said, showing Oluchi the head he was carrying. This girl went missing last week and the news is all over social media. She was in my faculty. Why did you kill her? Her parents have been granting interviews to the press, doing everything in their power to find her, and she was their only child. Why, Victor? Why? What has come over you? This is not the man I fell in love with, Oluchi lamented bitterly. But Victor told her to shut up and make peace with her God, as she will never get out alive. Oluchi cried bitterly and begged him to spare her. But he laughed and told her she was not more important than the girls he had taken out before. I was never going to marry you, so taking you out is for your own good, to avoid crying over a silly heartbreak, Victor said coldly. Besides, I just burnt your bag including your phone. Thank God yours was phone, so nobody can trace you here if they wanted to. Please don't harm me, I beg you. For the sake of the love we have shared in the past, please spare me. My parents will not survive my death, please. You know I am their only daughter just like you were an only son to your parents. My 2 younger brothers may not survive losing their only sister, please. Oluchi's pleas fell on deaf ears, as Victor took his time in taking her out. When he was done, he embalmed her and he opened another part of their poultry and buried her there, then used block and cement to seal it off. One of the rooms in the poultry already have a wall diving it. This was where Victor buries his victims. The next morning, Oluchi's mother called Victor to ask him the last time he spoke to Oluchi. Her number has not gone through since yesterday night. I am just wondering if she called you. But Victor told her no, that she called him the day before and said she was preparing for test. 24 hours later, Oluchi's mother and Victor were already in her school hostel asking everyone about her whereabout. Her roommates insisted that she told them she was going to visit Victor. But Victor claimed with tears that she never made it. Her mother was distraught, but Victor even cried more. He truly loved her. Look at the way he was crying like a baby, one of Oluchi's roommates said, admiring Victor. 1 week later, a protest was organized by Oluchi's friends about her disappearance and the disappearance of other young girls from the school. The commissioner of police vowed to find Oluchi and the other girls when the protesters came to his office. 6 months later, Oluchi's case was almost forgotten and her parents were suffering serious high blood pressure and still hoping for a miracle. Victor had also been showing fake support to them, so no one suspected him at all. However, one evening after almost 7 months of taking Oluchi's life, Victor came home and saw Oluchi's clothes in his bedroom. He became so scared and uncomfortable instantly. It's like someone knows I killed Oluchi, he thought to himself and quickly took the clothes and burnt them. But he had the shock of his life when he walked into his kitchen and saw Oluchi sitting on his kitchen chair that she always loved sitting when she was alive, sobbing. Victor shouted, "Who are you? Leave this house now." Oluchi looked at him and asked, "You don't know me again?" Victor fell on the ground crying. "Please don't hurt me, I am sorry for killing you," he said repeatedly crying. "You don't have to beg me, confess to my mother and the police," Oluchi said and stood up walking towards Victor. "My parents and brothers are hurting too much, blaming themselves, thinking it was their fault I disappeared. Tell everyone what you did, so that they can at least find closure." When Victor felt her presence very close to him, he shouted, "I will do it, I will do it," and started crying. "Good, then you will never see me again," Oluchi said and turned around to go back to where she was sitting. Victor stood up immediately and flung a pestle, aiming for her head to kill her again. But the pestle passed through Oluchi without touching her and fell hard on the floor. Victor's eyes widened in fear, so he ran out of his kitchen and locked the door behind him. He was still looking at the locked kitchen door in fear when Oluchi laughed very close to him. "So you want to kill me again? So if it were possible, I would have died again right now? You have no heart, Victor. From today, I will become your nightmare. I will never allow you to hurt another innocent young girl," Oluchi said and vanished. This was how Victor's nightmare really began. He saw Oluchi in every part of his house doing one thing or the other. Sleeping or eating was almost impossible as Oluchi only allowed him to sleep for 2 hours every night. Once Victor had slept for 2 hours, Oluchi will appear with a long cane and flog him until his body bled. Victor searched the internet severally on how to get rid of a ghost. Whatever was the result from his search, he will do it, hoping for a change, but none came. He would have gone to the hotel to stay, but he was already low on cash since he couldn't do his business as he used to. One day, he read about getting rid of ghost, where the writer advised the killer to burn the remains of the ghost and the ghost will never bother them again. He was excited. Why haven't I thought of this before? He quickly went into work. Breaking the walls and getting the remains of his former fiancée was one of the hardest things he had done. Because he was now so weak as a result of little portion of food Oluchi allowed him to eat. He gathered firewood and pretended to be clearing dirt in his compound and burning them. After doing this, he didn't see Oluchi's ghost again for almost a month. He resumed his internet fraud business and started getting money again. However, one day, while he out shopping in a boutique, Oluchi appeared when he was in the changing room fitting the clothes he was about to pay for and started flogging him with a hot rod. "I will confess, please don't kill me, please," Victor continued crying while rolling on the floor in front of everyone. People brought out their phones and was recording him. He was crying while pleading, but Oluchi insisted he should go straight to her parents instantly. Victor ran all the way from the city where he was shopping to their village. He ran straight to Oluchi's parents, fell on the ground crying. Oluchi's mother quickly ran to help him. "What happened to you, my son?" she asked while trying to help him on his feet, but Victor shouted, "I killed Oluchi." Her mother looked at him with disbelief. "How? Why?" she asked, shouting. Her screams made people gather in their compound. Everyone could not believe Victor's confession. Oluchi's family was so sad and distraught, to the extent that they couldn't even beat him. Everyone was encouraging them to beat the hell out of Victor, but they were too shocked to react. Oluchi's father simply called the police officers in charge of his daughter case to come and arrest the culprit. People were even more shocked when he confessed to killing his father. He took the police to their former poultry where they discovered several embalmed bodies that were buried in a wall and covered with cement. Oluchi's mother was so sad but relieved to see that her daughter saved other people from meeting their untimely death by exposing Victor. So next time you are going to meet that man you just met on any social media platform, ask yourself these questions. Is he another Victor? Do I really know this man enough to travel a long distance to meet him in his home, where I may not even be able to fight for my life? Before answering any of these questions, think of your loved ones who may never recover from the trauma of your loss, and then answer the questions.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.